Okay, everyone, welcome to OptionVue Essentials on June the 20th. I'm Jeremy Truelove, Technical Support and Network Administration here at OptionVue. And today, the two main topics I want to talk about are both symbol count and backing up your files and as it pertains to OptionVue. So first, I'll start with a little joke here about backing up. Is it going to blow? No, of course. So what are we going to talk about? We want to talk about symbol count, what it is, why we care, and then as it affects OptionVue, how we're going to control that to help you get the most out of your OptionVue for those of you who are on the QuoteVue service. Secondly, we're going to talk about backing up using either built-in, our function we have called backup key files. You can actually just manually copy the files using Windows. You can also use a service such as Dropbox, Cubby, SkyDrive. There's a million out there. And lastly, I'm going to get into a nice free little piece of software called Soft Backup, which will allow you to schedule backups in the background and copy files onto, for example, perhaps another computer you have, or even a external hard drive or a thumb drive. But before we get started, a couple jokes here. Don't want to be these guys. That's why we're going to back up. We may end up homeless, although I doubt it, but you never know. This guy's pretty upset, and not backing up is akin to playing Russian roulette, and that's actually true. It's one of those things that you never appreciate until you hit that event where you didn't do it, and then you sit there saying, oh man, I wish I'd done that, but you didn't. So let's do it now, get it done at a time, and then if something unfortunate happens to you, you'll be okay. All right, so first though, let's talk a little bit about symbol count. So symbol count is, as it implies, the count of symbols that OptionVue at any one time is tracking simultaneously. So let me share my desktop with you. It'll make a little more sense if we can see the OptionVue. Okay, so inside of OptionVue, you can see that as I have my quotes display here, each one of these entries will count as one symbol. And we can see the symbol count in OptionVue just above the refresh button, and which is also just to the right of the NV, which tells us what server you're on. So for example, right now I have a very low number, 38. Because all I have open is my quotes display with just a few default stocks and features and things in here. If I open a matrix, though, especially a larger one like Apple or SPX, you can see that number will quickly climb. Now I'm all the way up at 748. I could also, if I had multiple matrices open of larger, more heavily traded things that have a lot of symbols, you can see I can get that number to climb very quickly. Here I am all the way up at 2,200 by having 3 matrices and my quotes display open. The reason for that is that each individual option counts as one symbol. So both the set the money here, the set the money call, and the at the money put, that's 2 symbols. And then so on for all these different strikes. And so that's what can lead to such a large symbol count, especially, as I said, in these ones that are very heavily traded and have a huge range of strikes available, those markets that are made, and so there's data to be had there. So that brings us to the data, which is, of course, the reason why there's any limit at all and why we even care as a company about your symbol count. Because every symbol that you're tracking causes that little bit more of a drain on our server, and that means we have to supply that much more server resources, both the server, which is just a really powerful computer, and also the bandwidth, the ability to talk to the internet at a certain speed, to talk to your OptionVue client, and also to talk to the exchanges to, well, technically I suppose to our data provider who, to pull that data in on all those things. And unfortunately, those all cost a lot of money. So it would be a charge that would have to be forwarded on to you as the customer. So to maintain controlling that and keeping that within a nice range is a huge part of maintaining our servers. And so that's why if you are subscribed to our QuoteVue service, the initial set you are given is 1,000, 1000. And then members who subscribe to QuoteVue Pro are allowed 2,000. So you saw I was pretty easily able to get above 1,000 or 2,000 by opening a few matrices. So that leads us into, well, okay, so what can you do about that? How are we going to control that and say, you know what, okay, fine, I only want 1,000, but I want to open my Apple matrix, I want to see the weeklies. What do I do then? Well, the first step in that is controlling your quotes display. Now, my quotes display, as I have it here, just the very default from OptionVue, it has only a very few symbols. But some folks, especially after a number of years of continuously adding every stock and ETF they can think of, their quotes display might become pretty unruly. So one thing to do is just simple maintenance on your quotes display. Go through each entry, click one time in the symbol box to get your cursor in there, and then use the delete key to delete out any that you're not actually using anymore. For easy scrolling purposes, you can also use the arrow keys on the keyboard, the down and up arrow, to scroll through here and go, okay, yeah, am I really trading, do I need to look at gold? No, yes, okay, yeah, I do, but you know what, Euro FX, don't care, or I'm not going to trade futures, so I'm just going to kill all these. That can reduce your symbol count significantly. Another thing to do while we're still in the quotes display is to make use of these categories, which, as you've seen in other OptionVue Essentials programs, can be created by making a symbol in your quotes display that starts with the pound symbol. That's Shift and 3 on the keyboard, like so, if I could type. Now, once you've made each of these categories and added a few things to it, let's add a few that I don't have elsewhere. Okay, like so. As you can see, when you add each category, we do get this little box over here that currently is green. And as you might assume, green means go, and that means these ones are being tracked. But we can click on that box, and you do have to hit the box exactly, and it will turn yellow. When it does so, it will stop tracking these. So that will lower your quotes, your symbol limit rather, your symbol count by a few. As you can see, I have them down to 28 now. Well, I'm down to 16, and so on. This does pause the reception for these, though, so these prices are no longer updating. That's an important caveat there. So you really should, be careful that your sections are green that you do want to, be keeping tabs on. That's another way to sort of break up your quotes display and toggle those on and off to keep your symbol count a little low. And you say, okay, well, that's all well and good, but I only have 200 symbols in my quotes display, but I open my matrix, and it jumps up by 800. Okay, you're right. The matrix is the major place where we're going to control this. So the easiest way is through the use of the auto strike settings. So I'm going to go into my SPY matrix, which is a fairly large one. So you can see my number jumped all the way up to 1,600. Because my default settings are set to include a lot of things. I have quarterlies in here, I have weeklies, and I have all of my ranges set to large. So you can see I have a huge range of strikes across all these different months. Look at that, and I have leaps even. I go all the way out here. So we say, okay, well, do I really need those? Is that something I'm really going to ever evaluate in my trading? Should I really include those in my modeling? Because that's one thing. Any data that's in your matrix is pulled in when your skew curves are calculated, and so it will actually affect your modeling as well. So we're going to augment this. The primary way is through the use of auto strike. So I'm going to go to define. If it weren't already highlighted, I would click auto strike, and I would evaluate these in the money, out of the money, call puts, and whether or not I really need large. Do I really need to go really far into the money? I don't know. Based on your trading style and what you're doing, perhaps. One thing to know, this setting is per asset. So this is only the settings for the spider that we're changing right now. So I could say, okay, well, you know what? On the spider, I'm really doing, some out of the butterfly, or out of the money butterfly. So my in the money can be pretty small. I only need to go a couple of strikes in the money. I might need to make an adjustment or something, but I don't need those big strikes. So I'm going to change those to small and hit apply. And another huge area is the strike intervals. You say, okay, well, do I need to see every single half point, or would maybe 1 point strikes work for me in the spider? Again, based on your trading and what strategies you're employing, that may or may not be the case. I'm going to pretend here, just to help get my symbol count down, that, you know what, I'm okay with 1 point. That's going to be a fine enough adjustment for the kind of trading I'm doing. I don't really care. I'm going to do mostly calendars, say. I don't. 1 point is fine. And then I'm going to come over here to this one, which is sort of selecting which months, so to speak, or which major columns do I want to display. So I can say, okay, how many of the quote-unquote regular options do I want to go out? Well, I don't need to go out 5 months. I'm not going to be trading stuff way, way, way out there. So I'm going to change that down to, say, 2. And I'm also, I don't really need leaps, guys, turns out. Shouldn't need those. And I'm going to turn quarterlies off because, once in a great while, maybe I trade a quarterly, but I can come back and turn that on if that becomes the case. This box is not, don't worry about checking or unchecking this. This is just telling you, this is a readout type of box. It says, yeah, you know what, this is not the default settings anymore. You've changed stuff in here. So I'm going to say OK, apply, rather, OK. And I'm going to pare that down, and you can see that my symbol count has now jumped all the way down to 321. And even still, you can see I have a pretty nice spread here looking of my matrix of what can I see, what months, pretty far out of the money, be a little bit of a ways into the money still. So, depending on your trading style, maybe this would work for you. An added bonus of keeping your symbol limit down is it's going to drastically increase the speed of OptionVue. Your computer having to keep track of all these things and calculating all these MIVs and all these skew curves and all this stuff will eventually slow it down. OptionVue is very efficient, but everything has its limits, and trying to have 5 billion matrices open with 600 quadrillion things is going to bear down even the most powerful and tough of systems. So that will help keep it light on its feet and hopefully help keep your trading as fast and accurate as well. So that's a nice pared down matrix there we have. And we can see that that's per asset. So I'm going to go ahead and close. When I close, that's when it saves the matrix. So now those changes I made to my auto strike have been saved. We can go back in and look in Define and say, yep, look, I'm back on 1 point still. Yep. But now if I go into, say, Apple, we can see that here in Apple, I'm back to whatever it was that I had Apple set to before I started this webinar. So Apple's still showing me everything, although in Apple there are only 5-point strikes made, it just so happens, but we could switch that as well. So you can do that per asset to get that down. And lastly, we can actually go as far to go and manually edit all of the strikes. So let's say I do my SPY and I get it down, and it's not down as far as 300. It's still up at, say 1,000. So I'm like, oh darn, I didn't get it. I couldn't get it, but this is what I need. So I'm going to leave these here, but I'm going to turn off Auto Strike. Auto Strike is just our name for the little service we have that each time you open a matrix, it decides which strikes, both in the sense of, are they at the money, are they out of the money, is it the 159, the 160, and so on, and which expiration is it? Is it the near June month? Is it the second weekly, the third quarterly, the fifth leap, that kind of a thing. So if you think about it like a spreadsheet, it's both the rows and the columns that's deciding. It's deciding these rows here where we have what the strike price is, and it's deciding these sort of larger columns, if you will. I'm circling here, my cursor, I hope you can see that. Should we display this entire thing, this whole box of weekly 2, or not? And so let's say, okay, well, we've got those pretty much how we want them, but it's still not good enough. So we're going to have to dive a little deeper, and we're going to have to get our hands dirty and get in there and delete them out ourselves. And we can do that through these 4 tabs here. So it's Options, Quarterlies and Monthlies, Leaps, and Weeklies. So as these are defined, you will see as my weeklies are, they'll have expiration dates and they'll have their own strike list. So now what I can do is I can say, well, you know what, I do want weeklies, but I don't really want this near weekly. Like that's, I don't care about that one for whatever reason. So I'm going to highlight this, push the delete key. Then I'm going to click in this first strike box, and I'm going to hit delete and then down arrow and delete and repeat that until I've cleared out my entire box here so that it's empty. La la la, sorry about that, there we go. Okay, once I've cleared that out, we'll see that once I close this, that near weekly, whoop, gone. So now that near one's gone, the next one out is this weekly 4. Now I've shrunk my symbol limit down even more, and yet I've still got this one weekly in here. I haven't killed all of the weeklies out, as I would if I unchecked the weeklies box in auto strike. So you can see we're starting to get finer and finer control over what we're displaying. So you say, okay, well, yeah, but you know what? There's still some individual strikes I don't care about. We can even kill those out. So we say, okay, we can look through here, and we say, well, I know I'm not going to need these ones that are in the 30s, for example, for whatever reason. So the same process, I clicked once, I clicked delete on the keyboard, and then down arrow and repeated quickly to kill those out. I can say okay. And now I don't have those super low, those 130 strikes. My strikes all start at the lowest of 140 down here in the puts. So that is the primary way, and then the same concept, but both in the options where we can control what months do we see. In the quarterlies, if we had quarterlies or monthlies. The leaps we could add here. And the weeklies as well. We could say, okay, well, what weeks do we want to see for those? The last thing I kind of want to cover is the use of this little handy button, which is actually, it's a little hard to see, but it's supposed to say Jan 1. It's like a piece of a tear-off calendar. So what this is for is if you say, oh, shoot, Jeremy, you know what? I went in there and I killed out all of them. And I was like, oh, shucks, what do I do now? Because I do actually want to see more than just one weekly's worth of things, of pricing and options. Okay, no problem. Go ahead, go back in here. We're going to click in this first month, and then we're just going to click in here. And what OptionVue is going to do, it's going to automatically give you the next whatever expiration. So this is not the technically called the monthlies, right, but the ones that happen once a month and are sort of the regular ones. So I screwed up and I killed them all out. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, oh, well, there's the next one is August, November, February, and I could keep going. So let's say, okay, I'll do 3. And there we go. Now I have my 3 back in there, and they'll fill with data in a moment. So that, in a nutshell, is controlling strikes. So the 2 major divisions are controlling what's going on the quotes display. We talked about deleting them out, and we talked about using these boxes to pause and resume monitoring of those particular underlines. And we talked about then on the matrix side, also another double split, 2 ways to do it when you're in the matrix of number 1, changing your auto strike settings but leaving the auto strike enabled just to get it down to a little more sensible. And if you need even finer control than that, we also talked about turning off auto strike and going in ourselves to have the ultimate control over what strikes, what expirations. So I hope with that together, you'll be able to control your symbol limit as you want. Now, one thing to know, that's important, is to know how you know you're at your symbol limit. And that is when this number here, such as 38, would be the number either 1,000 for regular QuoteVue subscribers or 2,000 for QuoteVue Pro. It would have that number and it would alternatively blink red and black. That's what lets you know, hey, you've just tried to monitor too many symbols. And so what you'll see, the effect of that will be in a matrix that you will see some partially filled data. So you'll hit your limit, let's say, monitoring these first 5 columns here. So you get to the 6th column and OptionVue wants to track this one here, but we're already monitoring 1,000, so we can't. So what it does, it just skips that one. So that's what you'll see. That's our primary thing we look at when anybody calls in and they say, oh, you know what, Jared, I open my SPY matrix and I get my weeklies and I get the front month, but, September, nothing. Or September, I have like 3 strikes in there and then nothing. That's almost always a symbol limit problem. So that's how you can know you're hitting your symbol limit, other than just if your computer is slowing down and you just want to maintain it for your own sanity. You'll actually be hitting that limit and and not showing some data, which can be really frustrating in the moment. So do watch out for that. Okay, that's what I have on symbol limits and why we're doing it and how we're doing it. So next I'd like to move on to, honestly, a much more important topic, if I may say so, backing up. This is one of those things that no one ever does and everyone ought to do. You know, whenever I start a new IT position, that's kind of what I've done my whole career is been some kind of network administrator-y kind of a guy, you know, an IT guy, monitoring the servers and all that. First thing, man, what is your backup procedure? Like, what are you doing? How do we know that if a meteor hits this building, we will be okay? Because, you know, obviously that happens almost never, but I use it as a joke, not as a real event, you know. But fires do happen. People do accidentally hit delete on something they shouldn't, and everything in between, you know, from individual little drives inside of a server failing to, you know, a rogue employee that was mad they got fired and they go in and try to kill everything they can before their account gets locked out, to thieves, you know, coming in and trying to steal stuff, trying to harm your company. So a backup is important on every level, from a Joe user backing up, especially in this digital age, all your digital photographs. You know, I think about my own father, who's in his 70s but has embraced the digital life. He has so many pictures of both my 2-year-old son and my son's cousins, my nephews and nieces, that if he were to lose those, it would be a huge, you know, mental, and, you know, it'd be a bad thing. It'd be a bad blow to the family to lose all those memories and all those great shots of the kids as they've grown up over the years. So both from the personal level through as individual traders, you've got your transaction logs, you're going to have to file your taxes, and of course you also just want to know how well you've done. To hone your strategy, it's important there as well. And then of course on any kind of corporate level where there's huge amounts of money at stake, other people's money, either directly in some kind of brokerage or money manager type of situation, or like myself where I just work for a company, but OptionVue's livelihood is at stake if I screwed up and didn't have a backup of the important data that we have on all of our customers and the software itself. You know, OptionVue could get wiped off the face of the planet if it wasn't done right. So it's something I think should be talked about more, and I wish people understood more. So that's why I was really excited to be able to do this today on this webinar. So let's bring it back though. Sorry, a little philosophical side road there. Let's bring it back. We're going to come back to OptionVue and how backing up pertains to OptionVue. So there's two things really here. We're going to split everything into twos. That's my theme for the day for some reason. But the first thing is to use, inside of OptionVue, we have a backup procedure or backup feature that if you go up to the File menu and go down almost at the bottom, Backup Key Files. Inside of here, we can choose, do we want to back this up now? Do we want to back this up sometime later today? Do we want to back this up every trading day at a specific time? A lot of people like to do this, say, an hour after the market closes. So market closes, you know, they go in, they update their OptionVue to make sure it matches their brokerage account, and then, okay, now back it up because everything's cool. Or if you want to be real wishy, you can say, okay, well, just do it once every week, you know, on a certain day at a certain time. So what we can do, we can choose that. So this is the when. It's a little, sometimes it's hard to see. There's this outline here that defines this box. So this is the when portion. And this is, it says destination folder, but it's really, you can think of it as the where. Okay, when are we going to back up, and then where are we going to put all this junk? Okay, so we got to put all our OptionVue stuff somewhere. So let's just say now for fun, although I would recommend everybody do it every trading day at a certain time. And one important thing here with the when is that OptionVue does not have a separate process or anything that runs in the background. So when you say at a certain time, at that time the computer not only has to be on, but OptionVue has to be running. You can't have closed it. You could have just minimized it like I just did, so we're just staring at my desktop now, and OptionVue is just, you know, chilling, if I may use the expression. That's fine, but you cannot close it like this. So if it's completely closed out, okay, now any alert I have as well, separate topic, or the backup will not happen. It will just get skipped. So be aware, it needs to be running. So we're going to back up. We're just going to do one now so you can see the process actually happen. And then the important bit here is it says, okay, well, where should I put this stuff, right? Well, one thing to have is the default, which is to make these backup, and then we can also make an alternate one. So what this will do is it's going to go and it's going to try to back it up, and if it says, uh-oh, there's already a backup there, it's going to take that backup, move that into this other folder, and then back up the current stuff again. That way you always have two sets. So in case, let's say a problem creeped into your OptionVue and you didn't notice it today, you know, tomorrow you go, oh, that thing that I set that was wrong, I did that yesterday. Oh, well, whoosh. Thankfully, I have a backup from 2 days ago, so I can go back from before my error crept in and still get at my data. So we have those two there available for you. If you need more than that, you'll have to go to some other kind of backup procedure and program and all that, which we'll cover some of those in a few minutes here. So for us, though, I'm just going to say now, I'm going to say OptionVue and backup, that's fine. This is a little confusing for some people, this $home. All that is it's a computer thing. It's called a variable. And just like if you'll reach deep back in your minds and bring back high school algebra, a variable is just something that stands for something else. So $home does not literally mean $home. It means, okay, we're going to fill in something else instead of $home. And in OptionVue's case, excuse me, sorry, I bumped my mic there, apologize. In OptionVue's case, $home means what is the directory, the folder, that we ran OptionVue from. So for me right now, that's C:\OptionVue7. But if I was running it out of a Dropbox, that could be some other huge folder, or off of a network drive, or wherever I run OptionVue. This was a change I helped push through. I was very proud of myself for getting that pushed in. That helps us with making OptionVue what they call portable. And what that means is basically OptionVue doesn't truly need to be installed for it to work. You just need the files copied somewhere, and then it can run and do everything itself without all the changes and things that an installer needs to do to your computer. And that's what's enabled some of this real easy stuff, like being able to run it out of a Dropbox or off of a thumb drive and so on. So for my purposes here today, though, I'm just going to change this to be OptionVue7 as the one above is, just to keep it simple. So OptionVue7 backup, OptionVue7 backup 2. If anybody has any questions about what folders to use and things, you know, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call here at the office. I'm always available. Well, 7:30 to 4:30 Central Time anyway. Email I answer all the time, but please don't call me in the middle of the night. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm saying now, backup 2. Okay, sure, let's do that. Now, the first time some of you guys all run this, it may warn you. It'll say, hey, this backup folder doesn't exist. Should I make this folder? And just say yes as that occurs. Just letting you know, in case you typoed or whatever. But I had already done this before, so mine were already in existence. And it tells me, okay, cool, we backed up 835 files. Great. So now we can go and we can look in that folder and we can see what all OptionVue backed up. So that was computer, and then local disk. Sometimes it's called OS, or certain brands of computer might name that HP or Dell or whatever, but 999 times out of 1,000 it's C:. So C: is what you want. And then OptionVue7, and then I just made mine into backup. So you can see that this is effectively a copy of OptionVue. For those in the know, it's basically everything except for the README folder and the actual OptionVue exe, the actual program, the file that runs, because that you can download from us and you don't need. This is everything that you could have possibly changed throughout the process of using OptionVue. All of your data files, which we create one for every time you open a matrix. So you'll see an apple.stock SDK. Here are some currency futures and futures options that I've opened in the past, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's everything you need to get back to exactly where you are right now, except the OptionVue program itself, which can be downloaded. Here's backup 2. This is my older backup. You can see, let me find a file date here, I'll tell you. So you can see these are from much earlier in the year. I did this, apparently the last time I ran this was in April. I've been a bad boy, so don't be like me. Back up your stuff a little better. Now, that is, in a nutshell, using the backup key files. It's deceptively simple and really awesome, and I wish everybody would use it. So please use that feature. You could just as easily in here, instead of saying see whatever, you could hit this little dots to browse on your computer. This is all your drives. So I'm on the corporate network here, so I have all these network hard drives. But I did insert, just for you guys, in this F drive, which is just the thumb drive I have sitting around. And you can just as easily back up to one of those. So you could say, okay, always back up to my, let me get a copy of all my OptionVue stuff is, onto my thumb drive. So I'll do that, or I'll do F OptionVue backup 1, and F OptionVue backup 2. For example, I just made those up. It's up to you, whatever makes sense for you. OptionVue doesn't care either way. So now I'm going to do it, and as I said before, it's going to warn me. It's going to say, hey, dude, wait a minute, that doesn't exist. Should we make that? Yeah, okay. It's just a way of double checking that you didn't type something goofy in there. So go ahead and do that, and this one's going to take a little longer because flash drives are much slower than hard drives. So it's going to take a second, and I'm just going to cancel actually because that's okay. And I just saw a question come across, how do we restore that back? Fantastic question. So once we have our files that are backed up from key files, let's say one day we go to open OptionVue, and all of a sudden our quotes display, for just a random example, whoopie-doo, my 2-year-old just went like this on the keyboard because he thought it sounded cool. Uh-oh, all of my stuff's gone from my quotes display. I don't know what to do. I closed. I reopened my program like you've always told me, Jeremy. Reboot. Reboot. No, nothing. I'm in trouble. I'm in deep trouble. What do I do? Okay, but I made those backups, right? Yes. Okay, sweet. So I can go find my backup folder. So I found it on computer and in C, OptionVue 7, backup. And I said, okay, here's all my files. I'm good. So 2 things, shotgun approach, laser approach. Shotgun approach, just grab them all. Control A on the keyboard, A as in alpha, and that will select all the files, or you could just draw the box, chime on this as well, whatever suits you. I'm a keyboard guy myself. Control A, then Control C as in Charlie to copy. Again, if you're a mousy mouse person, right click, copy, and then just paste those into your OptionVue folder. Control V as in Victor, or right click and paste. That's the shotgun approach, just to replace everything. Go just take everything back to how it was the last time I backed it up, because I don't know what happened, and so I just want to go back in time and pretend like it never happened. Okay, cool. Laser approach. We say, my quotes display is messed up. Everything else is fine. So we say, okay, I'm just going to find the one file that does what I need. Now, most of the time, you're not going to know what that file is, and that's okay. You can either give me a call or just do the shotgun approach. That's cool. But once in a while, you'll know. You'll say, okay, it's my quotes display. So that is this file, quotes.col. So I'm just going to grab that one guy, and then bam. And Windows is going to warn me. It's going to be like, yo, there's already a file here. So no problem. We say replace. I'm on Windows 7, so this is slightly different among every version of Windows. So the key information is you want to overwrite. So sometimes it'll say, do you want to overwrite? And you'll want to say yes. And then other ones it'll say like this, copy and replace. So I've now replaced my quotes.col. And we'll see when I go back in. Booyah. Okay, I'm back. All of my stuff is in order. I'm good to go because I backed it up. I did not end up like that poor guy who looked like somebody just killed his mom in the picture I showed her. It was horrible. I don't know where they get these like stock photography actors, but they're terrible. Okay, so that's the backup key files and how we do that. Now, another way, and I've covered this before, so I'll just touch real briefly on it, is the use of something like Dropbox. And I mean, Dropbox wasn't even the very first, but they were sort of the first big name. And there's probably literally 1,000 different companies, I don't know exactly, that have some sort of cloud-based storage app that will sync a folder for you. And that's all you need. So just a couple of quick examples are Dropbox itself, which is free. Almost all of them are free when you sign up, and you get a fairly small amount of storage for free. And then if you want to pay a few dollars a month, you can get a whole bunch more storage. And one of the great things, OptionVue is a very tiny program in terms of file size, very efficient. So I'll just show you real fast. My entire OptionVue 7 folder, even including like the PDF of the help file and all that jazz, 240 megabytes. So very, very tiny. Compare that to, something like a Photoshop that would be, between 5 to 7, gigs. So 5 to 7,000 megabytes, and it's supposed to 240. So very small. It will not go over any kind of limits or anything when you're transferring it, so no sweat there. Now my Dropbox, I've installed the Dropbox software, and I'll skip that part. I have a separate thing that walks you all through every little detail about installing Dropbox and what folder to pick and so on and so forth. So look for that on the videos archive site. And so here's just an example. I've got all these different things I've already copied in here, some records and things. And what I can simply do is manually, I could just copy my OptionVue 7 folder, again, Control-C or click, and paste. It's going to take a minute. And once that's done, it will start syncing up to the cloud. Dropbox happens to use these different colors here, green with a check mark. It's a little small, apologize. And the blue with 2 arrows means it's in the process of uploading all that and syncing it up with their server. So once it's all done, though, we just run it out of this directory. So now every change I make, every file I add or subtract is mirrored on their cloud storage thing. So now if my computer where I'm sitting right now happens to blow up, or I delete it, or flood, whatever, tornado, it'll be fine. I could just get a new computer, install Dropbox, sync it up, and it would sync all this right back down to me, and that'd be, none the worse for wear, at least as far as OptionVue goes, of course. We don't want any of those bad things to happen to anyone, but they do happen, so we should be prepared. So that's the Dropbox / any of those. I happen to also have one called Cubby, which is from the people that make LogMeIn, which is a popular remote control program, and they also make JoinMe, which is a popular, well, it's not that popular, but it's new. It's fairly interesting. Sort of a version of WebEx, but a little more focused on smaller meetings versus webinars. You may have seen sometimes our sales reps use that. Product consultants, sorry. So any of those, though, they all work exactly the same way. Microsoft SkyDrive, Google Drive, Apple has one, iCloud, Box.net. That's just what I can think of off the top of my head. If you Googled it, you could find a billion. So any of those will work, or multiple ones even. As you saw, I have both Cubby and Dropbox installed on my computer, just for demonstration purposes. It's kind of silly, but you would get both of them. I'd have 2 gigs or whatever it is on Dropbox, and the same thing on Cubby and so on. So if really you're that averse to paying a few dollars a month, you could sort of dodge it that way. Okay, so that's doing it that way. That also segues us nicely into simply copying the files yourself manually with Windows. So just as I did this one single time that I put it into my Dropbox, as a backup procedure, you could just do this yourself. I mean, OptionVue is small enough, and everything is self-contained. Like I said before, we call that portable. So that makes backing it up super easy. There's not all kinds of files strewn all over the place and weird registry settings and all this crazy stuff. Like people try to scare you into buying weird software. None of that. So just the OptionVue 7 directory. If you get all that, you're good. As long as you haven't changed the defaults, which I guess I'll show you that too. It's important to know. So that's the first thing. Okay, I'm going to back up, right? But what should I back up? Almost as important, or perhaps equally as important, as all of your backup procedures themselves. So we're going to go into File, Preferences, the first choice. And then we're going to go into the middle choice of the tabs here, Folders. This is what's going to tell us, as of the one you're running right this second, where is OptionVue looking for all these different categories of files that we have? We do have these 6 total categories. The first one is the home folder, which, as you can see, I cannot type in here. That just tells you that's a directory that we ran OptionVue in. Where does the little exe file, we call it, the application live and where was it when I double-clicked on it or clicked it and ran it. There's some base files that automatically stay in that directory, such as the quotes display. We saw me restore that quotes.col file. So that one lives in there along with some others, the configuration files, a few other things. Then we have these 5 other categories, the data files, background, records, HIST, and OpsScan. So these you can actually set. Now mine are all set to $home / something, which means they're all inside of OptionVue 7. So it's C OptionVue 7 and then data, background, records, so on. So if I grab C OptionVue 7 and everything, all the files and all the folders, and so on and so forth, all the folders that are inside of those folders, and it goes on for infinity, right? As long as I grab those, I'll be golden. So for me, that's how that is. But you should double check this in case one of these could be set somewhere a little different. It could be out, out in some other folder. So you would need to grab that as well. But for 99% of people, this is the default. So if you don't even know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Skip this part. You're fine. It's all in OptionVue 7. You would have had to change this manually. So. Okay, so I can grab that OptionVue 7 folder and I could just copy and paste that somewhere else, so that I have a second copy somewhere. Okay, see OptionVue 7. Okay, great. I happen to have a separate second hard drive in this computer. So bang, I could just go onto my D drive. Oops, I already have one. So I'll just make a new folder called something goofy. And then Control-V to paste. So now I've got this other copy of OptionVue 7 laying around, for a rainy day. It's backed up. It's not the most, efficient thing. You're keeping the whole program. And also, are you going to remember that the SADF folder contains your OptionVue 7 backup? I don't know, maybe. And more importantly is if you're not in the habit of doing that, are you going to actually remember to back that up on a regular basis? Well, probably not. But in a pinch, it's something to do. It's better than nothing. So speaking of not doing it manually, well, aside from using OptionVue to do it automatically for you, there are many, many commercial packages out there that will do it. One that I really like and is completely and utterly free is from a company called Soft, kind of a strange name. It is like a lot of software that is my favorite. It is one dude that is out in I don't even know where programming this thing. And he makes this amazing program that is called Cobian Backup. These are all the old versions. Don't know why you'd want those, but if you want them, there you go. But 11 is the latest. And it is an enterprise class, excellent backup software. It's actually what I use here at work to back up our servers, and it's completely free. It's amazing. I mean, the server-based IT commercial packages are thousands and thousands of dollars, and they're barely any better than, they have maybe 2 features or something that this guy doesn't have in his. It's crazy. So I highly recommend it. It is a little unwieldy or not super duper easy. It's one guy. There's no team of marketing people that have decided where this button needs to go. No. It's one guy who was like, I think this is the best place to put it, so I put it there. Tough. Luckily, he's a very, very bright person, so most of it makes a certain sense, but just a disclaimer there, it's not the super easiest program ever. But I have already downloaded and installed it, so you can do that too if you'd like. And I have set up a couple of jobs here. That's how you run backup software, is you run a job, and it runs in the background all the time, and basically, in short, it does what you tell it to do. So you set up, you say, hey, buddy, this is what I want done. These are the rules. Do that. And it does it for you. So I'm going to step you through. Here's an example of ones where we could have it back up our OptionVue. So the first thing I'm going to do, open the software. The second thing I'm going to do, create a new task. It's this plus button. Kind of looks like a battery almost, but we're going to give it a name. You can name it anything you want. This is just for, for your purposes. And it has some advanced features here. Just don't even worry about it. Just leave them how they are. And we want to make sure that it's on full. It's a full backup. These are more advanced kinds of backups. Don't worry about it. So that's what are we going to do? We're going to do a full backup. What are we going to do it to? So that's the source. That's what files do you want copied. So I want to copy a directory. And I want to copy, okay, it was computer, and then C drive, remember, and then OptionVue something. Yeah, OptionVue 7. There it is. Okay, so that's what I want to copy. I want my OptionVue copied. You could use this to back up your whole computer if you wanted to. Or, you know, maybe you have a pictures directory, whatever the case. So then it says, okay, that's what you're going to copy. Now, where are you going to, what are you going to put them? What are you going to do with them? Well, we want to keep a copy of those somewhere else. So I already have in here from another copy thing I made. This is my, this is what it looks like when you're talking to a different computer in Windows, the //, and then a computer name. So this is a server name we have here, Sheldon. And my folder, Jeremy, that's me. And I already made a folder called OptionVue Backups. Now you could just as easily say, hey, I'm in a directory. I'm going to put that on my flash drive. So I'm going to go onto my removable disk. And I'm going to call this OptionVue Backups to, and OK. So now it's going to copy into both those places. For us, though, we'll just leave just that one. Then, OK, that's what we're going to do. We're going to copy from here to here. OK, when? What's the rationale for this? You know, what are we going to do? Every day, all the time? What? So here's your options. You can do it once, just this one time. Every day at a certain time. Every week, which actually means multiple single days, monthly, yearly, on some kind of timer. So that'd be like every 4 hours do it or whatever. Manually, you can have complete control over it, or each time you start up your computer. It's kind of an interesting idea, but not one we need for OptionVue. For most of you, it's going to be probably weekly. And then as I've done here, I checked all the days of the week of a regular work week. I don't need to back them up on the weekends. You know, it's fine. But every day, 5 p.m. Chicago time, I'm going to back these up so that every trading day, my OptionVue is going to get copied. Okay, cool, I'm set. Now, dynamics, kind of a weird word, but basically this means how are we going to handle different copies and things. So we're going to say, are we going to run it at, just leave this at normal priority? It's like how aggressive is the software going to be? Don't worry about it. It's sort of moot. The computers are so powerful these days, this is kind of an old feature, if you will. But one we do want to talk about is full copies to keep. So effectively, you can think about, if you think back to how we walked through doing OptionVue's backup, it's as though OptionVue has this number permanently set at 2. Okay, we'll always keep 2 copies. This software, this backup software, you know, is specialized. This is its thing. You can set how many you want. This is up to you as far as how much disk space you want to use up and how many backups you want to keep, like how scared are you of something happening. I think a good compromise is 5. Since we're doing it 5 times a week, that means at any given time we have at least a week's worth of backups going, and OptionVue is pretty small. So this entire, you know, 5 backups of OptionVue for most users will be no more than a single gigabyte. And if you think about, if you see these new computers advertised, there'll be a terabyte. A terabyte is 1,024 gigabytes. So that's, yeah, you know, you can keep quite a few backups on that single drive. So shouldn't be a problem. Now this does support some more advanced options. If we switch down now to archive, where you can actually even compress the files to make them smaller. This, for most people, I would just avoid. Advanced users that understand about zipping things and compression and what that means, you know, go ahead. You can say either make each backup one giant zip or zip every individual little file. And actually, if you do know what you're doing, I would recommend go ahead and doing this. Quite a few of the files in OptionVue are text files, and they compress pretty well. So if you know, if this isn't gibberish to you, go ahead and do it. Everybody else, don't worry about it. No compression is fine. Now here's an interesting thing again, where you can sort of either just skip it if it's confusing at all, don't worry about it, or if you're like, ooh, that sounds kind of cool, you can dive in pretty deep and get some interesting things going. And this one is a filter, so you can say both. Either I want only these files, or I want to kick these guys out. Excuse me 1 second here. Okay, my mic was muted the whole time. Okay. No, it wasn't. I apologize. At any rate, the filter here, sorry, I hope I didn't blow anybody's ears out with that coughing. The filters here, you can say exclude these files. So one thing you might want to do for your OptionVue, and again, skip if this is confusing at all, don't worry. Files, I'm going to go into my OptionVue, And I'm going to say, you know what, this README folder, these are always the same. I don't care. I don't care to back up these 2 things, and they're like 6 megs, so just skip those guys. It's cool. I don't need them. And yet another thing, again, same thing. A lot of these options in these programs is when in doubt, skip it. If it's intriguing to you, cool, you can deep dive in and maybe get some extra little things that will be cool for you. You can actually have the software do something. It's very flexible, do a lot of things actually before it starts to back your stuff up. And then once it does, you can have it do another batch of things. One of the cool ones is you can have it close certain programs. So you can say close a program and go through that whole thing. You can have it run a command if you're an advanced user and you know what you want it to do. You can have it wait a certain amount of time and so on and so forth. Same thing on the other end. You can say, okay, do all this stuff, start up these things, you know, and then of course you see here additionally at the end you can reboot or shut down. So that might be a nice one for a lot of home users. You could say, okay, I'm going to do it, I'm going to have it back up automatically every night at midnight or so, whatever your lifestyle is. And then at the end of it, you know what, just shut down the computer. It can just be off all night. That's cool. I'll save some energy. And last but not least, what he's calling the advanced tab, which really just means everything else that didn't get a category. Shh, don't tell anybody. Again, these things, same sort of concept. Just ignore them. Don't worry about it. But you can see here, we can get rid of empty directories if you want to. This archive attribute, that's a very advanced topic. Well, if anybody's really curious about archiving attributes and backing up and stuff, you can email me. I'll give you too much detail. You'll hate me. But don't worry about it for this purpose. It's irrelevant. So we're all done. We can just say OK. And we've got our new job over here. And then as you can see, I'm just actually going to delete that one right now. I've already created 2 different ones. So this is called backup OptionVue to the flash drive, backup to the USB drive, and then also compress them. And once it's done, you just leave it. You can close this X. Cobian does not actually fully close. It's still running down here. That's the sort of black and white swirly, I guess. Oh, he's calling it gravity. I see. Okay, so that's your gravity down there. You can double-click that to get the, you double-click faster, to get the interface back to go make any changes, you know, or just observe it, say, okay, it's running. Now, if a backup process were actually going, that icon would be spinning. That'll let you know, hey, I'm working on stuff. You know, it'd be a bad time to go and change a bunch of files because then you don't know which one's backed up and which version and stuff. So it'll let you know. And if anything goes wrong with any of your backups, there will be a flashing red exclamation point in there. So that'll let you know, hey, you need to go double-click, go in there, check it out. The log will tell you. This thing is very detailed. It'll say, like, I tried to copy this file and it didn't work, so, you know, check out what's up. You'll know, okay, wait, that one time that file didn't get backed up, so I better either do it manually or just leave it and hope that's not what I need. Yeah. But if it's an inconsequential file, you know, who knows? So you can see here, okay, blam, blam, blam. You know, some insane detail. Here we go. Compressing this, blah, blah, blah. Everything was fine. No, error 0. Backup done. Error 0. We did 2,166 files. We backed up 2,160 of them, and that took 217 megs. So, in the end, you can just sort of look for that line, say backup. Backup done. Okay, cool. No errors. Excellent. You're good. So then, wherever it is that you're going to be backing these things up to, you'll see these OptionVue backups would be in here if I had actually let this run. So that is backups, the speed version, and still I'm over time, so I do apologize for keeping you guys here a little late. I will run back to my chat here to kind of go back and grab some old questions. And if anybody has any others, now would be the time. And the path again, Paulie. So my path was, it's just whatever I happen to run. I'm hoping anyway that you mean this one. So I think that was from a while ago. this path here, this is just up to you. This is where you want OptionVue to put your files. So this is sort of relies on you to know your computer a little bit, I guess, to say, okay, you know what, I know that I have a second drive in there and it's called letter D or E or whatever the case. And so that's where I want to put it. Otherwise, you know what, this is another one of those things kind of like all that stuff in QuoteVue. When in doubt, use the default. So for everybody else, that can be $home, backslash, backup, $home, backup to. So it'll be under your OptionVue directory in another folder, you know, one called backup and one called backup to. And that way at least you'll have them. They'll be on the same hard drive, so that's another nerdy IT thing that nobody cares about except me. But we call that points of failure. So it's how many things have to die before something really goes wrong and you've lost something, okay? So if it's on that same hard drive, that physical, for most computers anyway, still is a spinning disk in there. If that actual disk dies, you will lose data because OptionVue itself is on the C drive and so is your backups. So that's bad. But at least it's not the literal only copy you have going. So that is at least a little better. It's better than nothing. And also, like if something gets corrupted or you make a configuration change that you're unhappy with, you'll be able to go back. So that's the better than nothing, but not ideal. It would be better if you could put those on a different drive, either on another computer, which is maybe another topic I'll cover in another one, is like mapping network drives. And sort of, if you have two computers, say, especially these days, a lot of people have a laptop and a desktop or maybe two laptops. You know, how do you get those two computers to talk to each other? And one way is through, we call mapping network drives. So you would have, like, say, drive G, some higher letter. And that drive G would actually be the hard drive in the other laptop. So I'm on laptop 1, you're on laptop 2. For me, it says G on my computer, but that actually corresponds to drive C, as in Charlie, on your laptop, on laptop 2. So that's one way to do it. Or again, with any kind of removable. You know, you can get those cheap removable hard drives from your local store, or I recommend highly getting them from somewhere like Newegg or Amazon. These online places that give you much, much better prices than your Best Buys and all the big box stores. So that's that. And sorry, reading questions here. Reschedule, restore them. Vicki, thank you for that question. I saw that out of the corner of my eye and I said, that is an excellent point. For the Cobian, the restore process would be very similar. You would go to wherever it is you told Cobian to back up your things, and you would find folders in there that would be named. It's a big long file with the date and time, and then the name of the job. So that thing you typed in originally, that's where it really becomes important, so you can know where to go and find those files. So that's where those will be, and then the process, though, is the same. You grab whichever files it is, copy, move over to your OptionVue, paste, and be done. For some files, you want to make sure OptionVue is closed. You know what, in general, it's probably just good procedure. Just close OptionVue first and then go and copy your files. All right, so if that's it. Polly, if you're still having trouble with Windows 8, it is a little annoying. Feel free to shoot me an email. We can exchange emails or give me a call. I can help you with that. I had it on this computer for a while, actually, but I got sick of it. So I put 7 back on. But I have used it, so I can help you with that. And if I don't have anything else, I am already over time. So thank you for attending, and I hope my long-winded nerdery did not upset any of you. I apologize. But that's my nature, so, you know. All right. I hope you enjoy OptionVue. I've been here almost a year now, and I think it's pretty amazing software. I have been using computers for basically my entire life. I'm 35, and it's pretty amazing stuff. You know, after all the different software packages I used over the years, not that I'm a huge options guy. I did major in finance in college, but my calling, if I can use that term, is definitely IT and computer stuff. So I did learn a lot about options when I started working here. and I've been really impressed. So I hope you are too. And if not, please tell me, because that's another thing that I think is great about this company. I say I'm kind of an outsider. Everyone else has been here kind of forever, people that work here. So I still feel like the new guy, even though it's been a year now. And we're very receptive to ideas and things users want. And I always try at every opportunity to make sure I say, you know what, guys, you have an idea, you have something you don't like about it, something that you think works is dumb, or like, hey, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? Or why does this work this way? You got to let us know, because that's the only way we're ever going to say, you know what, okay, cool, right, okay, yeah, that guy's totally right. If that is silly, we're going to do it. And they're very responsive here, better than anywhere I've ever worked. So minis. So there you go. See if Holly wants minis. We'll see. I don't know. I'm logging that, and we'll see if we can get any traction on minis some other time. But that's another thing we do. We write down everything, big writers. So, you know, we say, okay, look, we've got all here are these customers that, you know, want this feature, and that's that holds sway with the powers that be. So it's a great thing, and we're always welcome. We always welcome, rather, product suggestions, and then also, of course, bug reports. We really want to find those and squash those guys. So that's always the goal of any software company, is to put out software that's perfect, even though we know it's impossible, but we still try anyway. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a good day and then a good weekend if I don't talk to you. So thank you.